Hello and welcome to Bastionland Broadcasting, where I don't really have time to do my usual well thought out introduction because tonight we are looking through all 100 entries in the Mythic Bastionland Jam, which has just finished on itch. I don't even have time for this. What am I doing? We're just going to go straight to it. So the Mythic Bastionland Jam was nothing to do with me, really. It was set up by TTRPG Supreme. Thank you for that. And it was a way for everyone to share cool things they have made to use with Mythic Bastionland or that kind of are based on Mythic Bastionland. And anything that you want, you can throw in here. Now, you will notice that it says 99 at the top. We're going to gloss over that because when I downloaded all of the entries, there were 100. So I have the secret 100th entry, and I don't know what's happened, but I have it. So I will be doing 100. Now we're going to be disciplined. I'm going to start a timer, and it's going to sound a noise every 1 minute, which means that we should be able to bang through this in like 100 minutes. And then we can all go to bed. So let's start. Right. We're starting with the weird things that are not PDFs. And wait. I'm already, no, okay. I'm going to spend the first minute explaining some caveats here. Number one, because I have downloaded all of these files and I have them all ready to go, I cannot always credit the person who made the thing, and I don't always know the title of the thing. So if you want to follow along with who made what, then you can see the different entries of the jam here. And hopefully if you see something cool, you'll be able to find the equivalent thing in there. So apologies that I can't credit people. If I can see a name in the document, I will credit that person. Caveat number two, some of these may require a bit longer to talk about than others. So I'm reserving the right to extend to 2 minutes if I feel like it's a special entry. And number three, this is not a review. I'm just looking at them and seeing what's cool. So let's go. I did not realize it would be a gong, but that's fine. So the Mythic Bastionland Referee Companion. This is quite a big one to start with, and I had already seen this. There's a couple of these going around at the minute, and this one is a very cool set of... it's just basically a lot of the random tables from the book. And one of the things I really like on here is you can just kind of hit realm, and it uses the spark tables and the prompts from the book to kind of give you like everything you need for a realm. It isn't necessarily like ready to go, but it kind of like rolls all of the sparks for you. You could treat it as ready to go if you are confident improvising. As well as that, you've also got, you can generate characters, which is very cool. You can generate squires using some of the extra squire content from the blog. And yeah, and that's all it's getting, it's 1 minute. Number two, the tool is kind of the other side of the coin. This is the other kind of big set of generators that's been made for Mythic Bastionland. It's really cool. It's got a compendium of all of the content from the quick start. So if you're using these knights, you can sort of have everything ready to go for those knights. It has I think this is the one. Yeah, the Realm Maker here uses the art that that Kyle Latino made for the sample realm. So it's really cool seeing this, and it's a proper generator. Like you can randomly generate it. It tells you what's there. And it puts your holdings down. So between this and the previous one, you've kind of got like a complete set of tools. I'm really selling this one short because it has, let's have a look. It has a glossary, which is really cool. So if you're like, how does damage work? How does deny work? You can click on it, it's there. Right, next, the Mythic Bastionland Realm Maker. This is another hex sort of generator. In fact, this is not, this is a generator. You can generate a truly random set of hexes, and then there's a few different ones. Clustered seems to be like the closest to the method in the book, where you have types of terrain clustered together, and it will also place landmarks in there too. And if you scroll down here, you can see where the landmarks and the myths are in this one. This is kind of the most abstract one, I guess, whereas it just gives you the colors of the hex. You haven't really got icons as far as I can tell. But it's It's pretty cool. I like it. Now, what's going to happen is I can see I've got 14 seconds left, so I'm going to have to work in hydration breaks for these. So I am going to try and wrap up some of them early so that I can take a sip of a drink. There we go. And then we have our penultimate map generator, I think. There's quite a few map generators in there. This one, let's make it a bit bigger. I did play around with this one earlier. This one I actually quite like. It's got, you can set the color of the hex. Where's the color? The problem is if I spend, oh, backgrounds, here we go. So you can set the background color of the hex. And then it's a very kind of light touch map here, but I quite like it doesn't like my mouse, but you can kind of get like a pretty simple, oh no, this is not how you do it, but I do like this one. You can get a very kind of, you can get a realm generated very quickly. It's one of the more abstract ones. This one is called Hive Hex, I should say. I'm not only am I not crediting people, I'm not even naming the things. This one is Hexpad, and this is the final one of our hex generators. I also really liked this one because you can set the color and then choose the type of terrain. And from this, you can get like a surprising amount of like variance going on just by shifting the color and shifting the sort of type of terrain. I wish that you could change the color of the forest because the forest always stays green. You do get like a slight tint to it. So you can see here, this forest has a very slight pink tint. This is a very slight yellow tint. I wish you could change the actual color of the forest. Same with the sea. I think there's a slight sort of hint to it. But this one I like. It does also have icons as well. I shouldn't sell it short. So you can set the color of your icons. You can have a blue castle and so on. There are a lot of character sheets in here, and this one is the Mythic Bastionland night sheets. It's a Google Doc, so you can, it's a very easy one to share with your players, to make a copy of and to edit it. And it has some cool banners on the other tab of this Google sheet. And yeah, I mean, it's a character sheet. There's quite a few character sheets in here, and I'm not going to sort of go through and review whether they contain all of the things I would want on a character sheet. I'm just going to do a kind of a broad strokes look at it. I like having a separate section for the steed. The steed can often be overlooked. And yeah, this seems like a very, very good, straightforward character sheet. So we're gonna move on before the gong, because why wait? I think this might be the secret one, because when I went into this backgrounds for Mythic Bastionland entry, there's nothing there, but there is a preview image. So I said I was doing them all, so I can zoom in on this image a bit. It's an optional backgrounds and relationships table by Devin A. Poet. And yeah, you've just got a load of random tables for your character. So what was your childhood like? What was your family like? And some knights do get something like this already. So I don't know if I'd want all the knights to roll on it, because sometimes that's one of the interesting things about a specific knight, is that they have like a notable background. But I think this is also really cool for NPCs, because knowing a bit about their background can kind of help bring that character to life. And we are now approaching the final one of the, well, it's not quite the last of the non-PDFs, but it's the last thing I have open in my browser, because some absolute maverick decided to enter. It's not a text file, it's like a .md file, and I'm not cool enough to know what a .md file is, but it appears very much like a text file to me. And it's a myth that doesn't use the omen system. You can use the encounter table like the omen table, but I prefer my myths to be messy and spill into the world where they may interact with other myths and moments. So it's a myth that you roll encounters rather than going through the traditional omen system. And those who came on, oh, it's, yeah, of course, Matthew tells me MD is Markdown. I did know that. It's what all the cool people use who are too cool for blogs. So I that there was a version of the Omen system that used to work like this, where the encounters were kind of random. So it's cool to see someone exploring that. We've got an elk knight, which is cool. We have a dire elk. And yeah, so now we're going to move over to the PDFs. Now, I have not looked through these. I have prepared them. And some people will tell you that you shouldn't have 100 PDFs open in tabs in the same PDF reader. But that's what I've done. And my computer has not yet exploded. So there are a few that I'm going to knock through in one go because they are entries by Daniel Derubo. And the first of these is called Arania. And they have made a set of realms. Now, these they don't really have any extra content. They're mainly just like placing things around as you would using the procedure. But it does come with a very nice little map for each of them. And there's 3 or 4 of these realms, I think, that are all by the same author. And I really like the art on the maps. I kind of wish there was a little bit more. I'm going to carry on because we're doing the same person. I kind of wish there was a little bit more in here. Like you've got the locations and what's where, but it's not quite enough perhaps for me to kind of run it. It kind of points you to the book, which again is absolutely fine and some people will find useful. But yeah, I feel like you would not necessarily be able to run this from the page. You'd have to sort of work with it and sort of make it playable to your own standards. There we go. So we've got another map for this second realm. My PDF reader. Do you remember when I said that like it was working fine? We're going to. There we go. It is working fine. So we've got another realm. I'm going to gloss over these ones until we get to the gong, but you've essentially got like a set of 3 realms, I think, all by the same author. I do like the artwork on these. Right, we're through. Now, similarly, we have a set of myths here. The first of which is the Nightmare, and I noticed we had like a batch all by the same author in here. No author listed on the page, so I'm afraid I cannot credit you in here. I like that they've stuck with the poem. I'm going to try and read some of these poems because I've subjected people to try and read this font myself, and so now I'm going to have to try and sit on the other side of the table. Betwixt the fields of Yorick groans, it sails in ghostly flight, a demon wrapped in silken stone that hungers for a fight, the Nightmare. So we have a evil horse. Yeah, it's the classic evil horse. We've got a Mad Knight, and we've got a Spark Table. And I really like when people have done the myths, but they've also done the prompts at the bottom. I do appreciate that. Right, I'm going to close down some of these as we go, so bear with me. Okay, we've leapt ahead. We're not going there. So we have another realm by this author. It's all falling apart. Here we go. The Titan, another myth by the same creator. I'm going to gloss over the rest of these myths that are from the same package. But they seem cool. I do like the public domain art. It it feels like what I would have done. So back when I was writing like Into the Odd the first time round, I used a lot of public domain art just in the like playtest document there. So it's fun seeing this version of Mythic Bastionland, sort of what it would have been like if I'd done it back then. We've got the Sage. This is another myth. And then we have the Drums, which I believe this is a different creator. So the Drums is another myth. Ancient forces do not forget. They seek no truce. They seek no rest. So people are restless, animals nervous. 2 kids play fight. They fight and are separated, bloody curls, missing teeth. A broken knight arrives under a flaming banner. So I guess this is like the Drums are stirring up like animosity. Yeah, so this is cool. And what's interesting is looking through some of the myths. It's cool seeing people approach it with a slightly different tone. And like I say, I'm trying to go in blind to these, but there is one that I peeked at later on in this list that I really liked. Someone who's made some myths that have a bit of a different feel to the ones in the book. Lona says, not enough invented words in the poem. Yeah, but you've got to make up at least one word when you're doing these poems. Okay, so we have more from this same creator. So I am going to gloss over these. We've got a knight. We've got our first knight. Cast adrift, full 5 fathoms down he lies. Wreathed in wrack, he drowns yet does not die. The drowned knight. This typeface is giving me strange feelings. An anchor flail. That's nice. That's cool. Yeah, so they remind me a little bit of the Chain Knight, but I guess like they've been dragged up from the depths of the sea. Rejected by the sea. Mother Ocean will not have you or support you in any way, nor will her sisters. Lakes and river. You cannot drown, nor can you float. If you fall into any body of water, you go straight to the bottom and can expect a long walk out. That's actually great. I would gladly have put that in the book along with the others. I think that sits perfectly in there. That's exactly the kind of ability I like, where you get a slight chuckle when you read it and then you think, wait, but this is, how can I make this useful? Right, I like that one. And we've got a seer, but we've got no time to look at it. The Spider Knight. Okay, so what's their deal? A nyctophobic steed. So their ability, Threads of Fate. Weave together the fates of 2 characters in an unforeseeable and irreversible way to the disdain of most seers. See, that's an ability that would slightly drive me mad as a GM because I don't fully understand what that means. But it sounds very cool. I think this is the kind of thing where you would, if you had this knight in play, you would want to sit down with the player at the start of the game and be like, look, what does this mean? Because I think there's a lot of cool ways you could go with this. It reminds me a little bit of the Ring Knight has a thing where you can sort of share something with another character, but sharing their fate. Yeah, that's cool. That has some cool potential. And then we have a Thespian Seer. Sees every feature of a person and nudges them into the most tragic and dramatic. I like it. They've got a mockery energy about them. The Children from Below. Now, I did see this one because I saw that it was a Skaven myth, and sort of 11-year-old me who loved Skaven would be all over this. So having rat men come up from below, it does work. It's funny because I think of Skaven as so closely tied to the Warhammer world and it's kind of like urban, the urban parts of the world. It would be fun to try and make them fit into a much less urban setting like Mythic Bastionland, where it's assumed that there are not cities. Well, there might be one city, but there's no cities in general. But yeah, this is cool. I think this would be a fun one to throw in if your players weren't expecting it. And maybe tweak it just enough that they don't sort of twig that it's Skaven specifically. The Hedge Knight. Wish born ill-used, no hero foretold, but a prickly skin and stout heart holds. Oh, Hedge Knight like a hedgehog. I was thinking hedge like a hedge wizard. Okay, a poultry steed. They get a spurs. So it's a hedgehog riding a cockerel. Bucolic Brotherhood. They can lure and direct herbivorous. I've never had to say this word out loud. Herbivorous animals with their pipes. Directing a full herd of beasts at an enemy is regarded as a warband. So they're like the Pied Piper, but they're a hedgehog and they're riding a cockerel. They've had some ill treatment in the past. Knighted by the Well Seer. So they're down a well and they grant wishes, but only those which will remain unappreciated by the bearers. Yeah, this fits. I'm surprised there's not already a seer that's stuck down a well, because that fits the seer vibe very much. So we've got 14 pages here. This is a full set of knights for Mythic Bastionland, and this is by Living Water. We've got another hedge knight, but this time it is an actual plant hedge. And I think these are all based on tarot cards, which is cool. Yeah, this is great. I'm just going to pick a few and look through them. So the Hedge Knight, I'm going to look at their abilities because that's often the fun bit. Once a day, strike the earth to create a dense line of hedge, no larger than a hex, along anything that might be considered a border. It decays when another hedge is created. So you can put down borders in the ground. Okay. Snap once per day. Take anything you can hold in 2 hands and snap it in 2 pieces. That's great. That is, again, I love it because I can see it. People wanting to know, like, well, what does that mean? How much damage does this cause to someone if I am able to lift them in 2 hands? Right, yeah, but they're all tarot ones. They look cool. The whale. So this is I like the people that it's cool seeing people work with the layout from the book, but it's also cool seeing people experiment with new layouts that still fit everything onto a spread. Well, strictly it should be on a single page, shouldn't it? But you know, not everyone is a glutton for punishment like me, trying to fit everything on 1 page. So we've got a whale. An elated mussel vendor trays delicious belly mussels. The whale lies beached on land the size of a ship. Sorry, I'm going quiet because I was just reading this, which is not great entertainment. Yeah, this is cool. I like the vibe. I think the whale may have been one of the names for a myth that was on my long list and got cut. It didn't get any further than a name, so I couldn't tell you whether any of this has similarity. That's cool. That's by William Jan, or William Jan. I can see a name there. The Voyage Home. So I did see this was a pair of myths. We had the Voyage Home and the Voyage Out or somewhere. The ocean swells, the tides doth turn, for known shores the heart doth yearn. So I guess, well, let me see if I can find the other half of this. The Voyage. So I guess you could kind of use this as a pair of myths where you do the voyage first and then you do the voyage home. And you could potentially run it in a bit more of a linear way where you work through the voyage and then you work through the voyage home. So we've got a hermit at world's edge. And yeah, what's the... Oh, there's a fountain at the edge of the world, which causes a remembrance of home, a vital rush. So yeah, it's got that kind of mythic feel. And then what about the voyage home? What's going on here? We'll never know. We'll never know. Okay. Old Realm Scrolls. I saw this one. This is by Seth Johnson. It's 23 pages. And I'm going to be very brief. It's really, these are all free. So download this one for sure and read it because it's got some really cool stuff in it. You got hags and squires, like it fleshes out squires and gives them their own oath. You got like titles for squires. And these are kind of like the blog post I did where squires get like an extra thing. Hag favors, which I don't know what they are, but they sound cool. Strange mounts. Far touched items, so like magic items here that you can like bond with. We've got names, which is always useful. Place names, which is kind of something that is maybe lacking from the book. So place names are very good to have. Strange effects, that's good. And then specific dwellings, specific ruins, specific monuments. I love it. Download it. It's great. So now we have, this is a character sheet for this, which is another long one. In fact, this is 81 pages. This is Isaiah McCormick, Tayo Akiru, Cut Down the Sun. And it's basically just like an entire, I don't even know how much, that there are bits of the system in here. I've looked through it very briefly. And it is like a huge total conversion, I guess, for want of a better word, that transplants Mythic Bastionland into like a kind of Mythic Japan, like samurai kind of vibe. And it's got some very cool stuff. It's far too much for me to go through in the 1 minute I have. It has this whole system of like stances and what's the other one? There's like something that's the opposite of a stance, and that they're like the attack and defense methods that you're using. There's all this stuff to do with like, there was something about eating people or like drinking blood. I don't know. It looks cool. It's I wish I could talk about this one longer, but I'm sticking with it. And it does come with a character sheet. You know what? We've breached the gong. I'm going to continue to talk about this one, even though I've just closed it. It has hit locations, which is very fun, and something that I could see like a future where I put hit locations in as like a little extra for Mythic, because I like the scars, but there is something quite nice about that nitty gritty thing of like, where do you hit someone? And we're going to use the remainder of this minute to take a drink. And I did not realize we had so many people. So hello to everyone who's watching. Thank you for coming in. Yeah, Molescaven. Andy Raff says Molescaven would be great. That's a thought, definitely. Right, our minute's up, I think. Hex Wars. So there's our minute. Hex Wars. I saw someone talking about this somewhere. Maybe it may have been in the Discord. So it's like a warfare system that you can kind of layer on top of Mythic, and it's kind of its own system. I actually don't think it uses much from the original system. No, you know, we get some spark tables and stuff, but then it kind of has like a system for like warfare, like the core game has like very loose rules for like mustering armies and like having mass battles, but this kind of turns it into more of a proper like hex war game, like almost like a grand strategy game, I guess. And yeah, it has a solo version. This looks really cool. If you're looking for something that has that style of play, this is by Gnome Stones, I should say. If you're looking for something that dips into that style of play, this is Hex Wars. This is very cool. Right, we have another myth. This one is by... I can't see who it's by. This is the... you're going to make me say this. The Putris Canal. A bone beneath each flower, children thrive at midnight hour. What is the Putris Canal? Is it a mole? Is it this guy? Is it a big mole? Yeah, I think he's a big mole. Funnily enough, we were just talking about moles. So vegetation grows only in small random areas. You can hear the swaying of grass. So yeah, it builds up. This is like a classic like monster myth, right? Detects disrespect to soil and awakens rage. So yeah, as long as you respect the soil, I guess, you're all good. And again, I like that they have the little prompts at the bottom. That's cool. Right, the Oathbreaker. We did cover, I think, this creator already. So we have another myth from them. I'm going to use this as an opportunity to tidy up my my PDF reader. The Watermill, another omen, another myth. Myths are slightly harder to read through the Knights because they kind of the Knights are easier to just kind of grasp the concept. Myths require a bit more reading through. So apologies to all the myth writers if I'm sort of glossing over the myths. So this is the Watermill. By moon still gleam, the black wheel turns, through hollow beams the agony churns. We've got the Waterwoman, spite personified, seeks to drag knights into the depths. I'm always a fan of people being dragged into depths. The Chained Miller, and they fight with the millstone. Yeah, this sounds cool. So kind of like a horror vibe from that one. The Dragon Knight. I really like this layout. This is really cool. Yeah. So what's their deal? Ability. Once per session, you may choose to summon the dragon that tirelessly hunts you. It can overcome any obstacle to get to you. Okay, so, and then you have some spark table here for the dragon. So it may be that it's invulnerable, but it loves riddles. So the dragon is not your ally. The dragon is like your enemy, I guess. And you can summon it to like come to you, but when it comes to you, it's going to try and kill you, I suppose. That's a fun concept. Again, it's fun because that's one that would probably be a bit wild for me to put in the book, but I love having this as an option. And this could be a really fun like NPC to have. If you have like a ruler who's haunted by this dragon, that could be really cool. Right, the Dolorous Knight. Blanched the face at the grievous wound, kept them all apace with flight for boon. So they have a Dolorous Blow. When you smite, roll d20 instead of d12. Once a season, someone close to you takes the damage from your last smite, and the wound cannot be healed, save from the complication of your quest. See below. And you have a quest here to, let's say, go to a distant realm and gather medicinal herbs. So you can do like a super smite, but once per season, someone else is going to take that smite, I guess. Again, I would want to hammer out some of the details of that a little bit with the players before starting. But yeah, that's really cool. And we have the Fisher Seer. Stinks of fish. Finds future in the entrails of specific fish. And they hate fish. Sucks to be them, I suppose. Jotun Rift, right, this is another big one. This is who's this by? I need to give it. This is Jamie Bernstein, and I did glance at this one as well. This is like a kind of introduction realm. So like this is available as a map separately when you download the file, and it's kind of like an introductory realm that has specific myths and a specific map that's kind of a bit smaller and a little bit denser. It has a road, so immediately I was disgusted, but I will allow it this once. I like that they detail all of the little biomes here. This is really cool. This is something I could see myself borrowing for future, definitely. Just having like 6 different biomes that are described like this. What else have we got? We've got a bunch of specific landmarks. We've got actual sites. No, okay, we'll give them another minute because this one's pretty detailed. We have specific sites. We have holdings. This is fantastic. This is the kind of thing that I've been like working on a little bit behind the scenes myself. I've been trying to make a more fleshed out realm for the next time I play the game, and it's really cool to see someone do it. And I'll be sure to steal things from here if I like them. We also have specific knights for this realm. Oh, the Mole Knight. We finally, Blind of Eye and Sharp of Claw, behold the buried days of your... Now, I haven't seen this yet, but this Mole Knight ability better be good. You can dig. And you can also blast people with the dirt. Listen, I was a bit underwhelmed when I saw that it was just that you can dig, but being able to blast people with soil as well, that's pretty good. And they have an understeed. Yeah, that's cool. This is really cool. Like I can see myself using this one like genuinely, just like straight out of the book. The Ancient Knight. A chained javelin is pretty cool. They need to make a vigor save or be dragged behind. Are you dragged behind the chain? Like you throw the javelin and then the chain drags you with it. They have a chariot, which is not something that any of the other knights have. That's pretty cool. Right, what's their ability? Use as a reaction to being mortally wounded. You stay upright and increase all weapon dice by 1 threshold, for example, d6 to d8, until you recover. So you can just keep on fighting. Now, I think I've messed around with something similar to this before, and you might think, oh, well, that's too powerful to just stay fighting. But if you get mortally wounded, the fact is you're kind of close to like being outright killed because your vigor is going to be pretty low. So carrying on fighting is kind of a surefire way to end up properly dead rather than just mortally wounded. So I quite like that as an ability. We've got the Wheeled Seer, and we'll never know about the mysteries of the Wheeled Seer. The Challenger. So another myth here. So what's their deal? So we have a lake. A maiden's voice calls out to all adjacent hexes. Beguiling people with charm. Fisher folk. So again, yeah, this is a pretty classic kind of fairy tale sounding myth. I do like a big pike of either type, really. I like fish and polearms equally. We have the Lox champion Sagravane. Driftwood plate. That's Driftwood plate is a cool. Oh, armor 2. Okay, I'll allow it, but that's a little bit of armor bloat. Driftwood plate is cool though. Yeah, this one's pretty cool. Right, a character sheet. Now this one, I can see the word clarity, but I struggle a little bit with clarity here. It's a little bit muddy to me. But I like that it fits on a nice slender piece of paper. It seems to have all of the information that you need, I think, and I think it's a similar kind of amount of detail to the the much maligned official ugly character sheet that I made in Google Docs. And yeah, having exposed, exhausted, fatigued, impaired is also kind of useful, I suppose. Although if it will be nice to have the little reminder text here for what these do. CJ in the chat says that they are working on a sci-fi mech version of Mythic Bastionland. Have I read that correctly? That sounds very cool. Mythic Dungeon. So we've got a 4-pager here. Right, we need to go. So this is Celtic homebrew for Mythic Bastionland. Yeah, so more like a Celtic flavor for the game. Spot tables for your mast helm, for your tartan, for your animal, and a myth, the beautiful. Nice short omens here. That's the thing. Like it's easy to forget how short the omens in the book are, because I tried to fit a lot into those omens, but I do tend to make them short because I kind of work on the assumption that the referee is going to have to stop, read the omen, and then describe it to the players. They're not going to just read it like box text. So I think short omens that fit some interesting stuff in, that's always going to impress me. The Heath, whispers on the wind, weal, wealth, and woe. Yeah, I love a Heath. And what's happening? So we've got a mist, 3 figures calling out in the mist. You can't have too many mists in Mythic Bastionland. We've got a lot of virtue loss. So it's just a horrible place where you're just going to get ground down. So yeah, the British influence is strong. So more mist. So yeah, it's kind of like a twist on the mist, I was about to say. And we have a Jade Knight, fully armored, hates the rule of the realm and thinks they can do better. Yeah, this is a cool little myth. Right, I'm going to use this opportunity to shuffle my order around so that it doesn't keep cutting to this. We have apprentices and paths. So this is another, well, 7 pages, so it's not, as I say, it's not huge. It is going to require a full minute of my attention. This was by Danny Rutherford. So I think this one, yeah, you play as an apprentice to the seer. So you don't play as a knight, you play as an apprentice seer, I guess. And there's a whole system for like being an apprentice. Different types of apprentice. I think there's like 6 here, yeah. And I think there's like a system here, yeah, for like visions, invoke, glimpse, guide. Listen, I'm not gonna be able to get through this in a minute, but this sounds very cool. And then we have the paths, which I guess is a myth. Yeah, so it's like a separate myth that sits on top of the existing myths, I think. So this is very cool. This is apprentices and paths. Mythborg. It was only a matter of time. This is by Z.E. Wayland. And this is, I guess, if Mythic Bastionland looked like Morkborg. So we've got some, got a myth immediately, the graveyard. We've got the menagerie and the custodians, which is this one myth, I think. I don't know. It's just six things that are coming to kill you. The druid. This is a myth. That's cool. The hollow. That's terrifying. The gate. That's a terrifying amount of pixelation. Where the gate leads to, and who it rejects. The wisdom and the dread. 2 more. Yeah, this is. I mean, it's just more cool myths, right? The wizened knight. Oaths unfilled stir withered flesh to war till final foe draws final breath. 2 bullet points in a list. Come on now. We're better than that. Fated stroke. As a feat, double the number of dice you roll for an attack. This always fatigues and ages you. Rerolling virtues. You do not lose vigor at the end of each age. But if you are old and a season ends with every myth in the realm resolved, you dissolve into dust. Right, that's a lot. So I love the fact that you can do this thing, but it ages you, like from a young person into a mature person into an old person. Um, that is really fun, and I kind of wish that I had done something like that because I love the idea of like spending one of the 3 or 4 ages that you're going to have uh, to do a very strong attack. That's really cool. I kind of think the attack. I feel like the attack should be bigger if that's the price it comes with. And finally, the cucumber seer. They love cucumber, I guess. Now this one is great. Who made this? I can't remember who made this. I'm sorry. I spoke to them in the Discord server briefly. It is a sort of calendar sheet. So for each season, you've got a little sheet that you can keep on the table and move some little counters around to show what phase of the day you're in, what day you're in. So this uses the expanded calendar system that I put on the blog a while back. And you kind of work through the months. You have the dates of the 3 main sort of events of each season. And this is something that I am genuinely going to print and take with me to my games because I think this is just downright useful and something that I hadn't really thought of making. But it's, sitting alongside the hex map, this is a really cool thing to have. The Night Knight. To wake and live is to sleep and dream, for none may say when one ends and the other begins. Ability, Umbral Invader. You may fall asleep next to another sleeping target. Doing this allows you to invade their dreams. This may allow you to witness what thoughts plague them. You may also influence the dream to some extent. Now, this sounds... this doesn't mean anything, but this sounds super familiar. Is this in Electric Bastionland? Is there something, or in Into the Odd, one of the Arcana? I feel like I've seen this before, but I love the idea of like going into someone's dreams. That is a really cool ability. And we've got the Fool is the myth. I like that they managed to get them onto the classic 2-page spread, but no prompts at the bottom. But I will forgive it because that's a very cool knight ability. Telemeet. Right, this is a GM-less variant, I guess. Not variant. It's a mini game that you play when advancing time in Mythic Bastionland. It is inspired by Wanderhome by J Dragon, which was a big influence on certain parts of Mythic Bastionland. So when it ends, when you advance time, you play this little game, and it's kind of like a little story game kind of thing. To flesh out a bit of stuff about what's happening in between the age. And this is a little 5-page game. Comes with a sort of example. Yeah. So this is by Lookroll, who I have some very kind things to say about, but I've run out of time, so I'm sorry, Lookroll, I can't say them. Syndraline, a quick start saga for Mythic. This is another one that I peeked at, mainly because I love this layout for sites. So there's a bunch of sites, like pre-made sites on here. So this is an Ash Village, and rather than the hexagon thing that I use in the book, they have this flattened version, which I think still allows the same, probably like the same amount of like connections. But it's just really cool that it looks very neat and clean, and I like it. And I think this is just like a bunch of... So what is a saga? It's a complete map of the realm with descriptions and landmarks, NPCs and adventure hooks. So yeah, I remember now. There is a separate... Yeah, there's a map of the realm. And it's a very nicely laid out map for sure. And these things are all explained in this document. That's very cool. The Leech Knight. Right. Black Kiss. Your kiss heals any malady from a willing target. That's big. Any malady. Wounds. Yeah, that's good. I like how short it is. I like that it gets to the point. I really like this artwork. Is this I'm assuming this is like public domain art that has been like colorized or at least tweaked, but I really like it. I like anything that works with like a limited palette. Kind of feels like it could have gone in the original book. So the Rusted Seer, a discarded set of armor and a broken sword in the depths of a dungeon, whispering with a creaked voice. Sees through the eyes of any knight on a quest, blind to knights who abandon the oath, and wants to take part in a glorious battle. So I guess you can strap on this seer like armor and like wear them into battle. That would be pretty cool. The Peacock Knight. This is by Plarman A. So I think we've got a few here from the same creator. The Peacock Knight, show of splendor. You can forego your movement and attack to make every human looking at you impaired. Saves apply as usual. That's pretty powerful. And they have a cape of gold and some special details for that. Because these are all the same creator, I'm going to hop through. Oh no, that was just those two. I've jumped ahead prematurely. We have another myth here. The Omea. A source of which I'm not familiar with. So some kind of like ghostly figure. If a person is silent, she has no effect on them. If charmed, will have visions of pleasure and follow her into the fog to their death in a pit. If shaken or slapped, will snap out of trance. So she can lure people into the fog. A classic. From Squires to Legends, a tool set for growing knights. They're a collection of tools and tables to improve the growth of your knight. You can decide whether these tools go against the spirit of the game. They probably do. Listen, the spirit of the game is overrated, really. I think that there's a big conversation there to be had, I guess. I think I'm not going to waste this entry's 1 minute talking about it. So we've got a new scars table. I think this is a bit more generous. It gives a bit more extra stuff. Relics and artifacts. So extra little things to help your character grow. My rant about the spirit of the game, I think you can go either way as long as you acknowledge that's what you're doing. If you want to stick to the spirit of the original game and go into that, that's one thing. If you want to go away from that, as long as you acknowledge that's what you're doing, then I think that can work as well. It's when you get stuck in the middle and you just try and tweak things a little bit that I sometimes run into trouble myself. Right. The Crane. So this is a set of myths that I saw that was also by the same author. And they were kind of like like Asian inspired myths, like Japanese inspired. And we've got the crane as the first one. Yeah, so this one seems kind of cool because it's not like the crane doesn't seem to be... The crane is not like a monster. The crane is something to be helped. And yeah, that's really cool. Is this like the crane wife thing? Okay, we'll never know. Now we have a few more. We're gonna speed run through these three because they're all part of the same set. The hero of the fruit, can perform feats for free as long as an animal friend is alive and nearby. Sweet scented hero, sword in hand, kindness in heart, aside beastly friends. So we've got someone gathering fruit. Oh, because they were born of the fruit. That's cool. I like that. Yeah, and the hero is going to be born out of the fruit. And then the mountain witch, another myth. What's their deal? Oh, so if you've eaten one of her sweets, you can't refuse her request. That's cool. The three charms. When torn, summon a chasm, a river, and a great fire. That's cool. I would like to read more about it, but I can't. Eminent Domains. This is a 14-page authority and domain supplement for Mythic Bastionland. So if you want to get more into the nitty-gritty of how to run a domain, this is by Micah Hind. And yeah, it seems to just be really expanding on the running a domain section, which is cool because I deliberately kept that very kind of not abstract as such, but like broad strokes and big picture, I suppose. So this gets a bit more into the detail of it. So like what's in the actual hexes of your domain, and what does that mean? You got like a resource system. You got actual guidelines for how long things take to build in a bit more detail. Vassals and how they work. A bit more on the council. Love and marriage. Right, this sounds cool. I'm going to come back and read this another time. We've got another one of these Japanese-inspired myths, which I'm going to gloss over quite quickly. The minstrel. It's very hard to read these myths quickly and summarize them. I will apologize for my constantly falling silent. Yeah, this one sounds cool, and let's jump to the next one quickly. The princess. See, I like to just skip to the end of these myths, because often there's like the last omen does something quite big. Yeah, so this is pretty big. There's like palaces floating away and things. Okay, let's go. Names. This is a nice easy one. I'll get more of a drink from this one. It's a list of names. These appear to be like just straight up Arthurian name. We've got Palamedes, Percival. These are probably all from sort of Arthurian myth. This is by Daniel de Rubo, who did one of the earlier ones that I've already forgotten. Toponyms. This is cool because, like I said, there is a little bit of a gap in Mythic Bastionland in the book, that there are not there's not really place names in there. It's left a little bit open. So having a list of place names is something that is useful to have. What I tend to do is I tend to roll like a feature of that holding and just name the holding after the feature, which is not always super interesting, but you can twist it a bit and make it sound like it's like an old language. You can often end up with a good word. Right, 12 Knights, 12 Seers, $0. Who is this by? They're not telling me. That they credit everyone but themselves. Extremely cool art that is being commissioned right now. Awesome. Love to see it. So the Shard Knight. We're gonna speedrun these 12 Knights and look at their abilities. Once per fight, praise an ally. If they defeat a foe, you both gain 2 guard. And enemies lose guard. Okay, cool. If your target, this is the Flail Knight. If your target is using a shield, ignore their armor they gain from that shield, and your bolster gambit is +2. So they're just like a better fighter. Insight. When talking with strangers, see past facades and understand their true intentions. So this is the Oak Knight. So you can see their true intentions, but they know that you've seen it. The Rust Knight. Foes underestimate you, so you get +8 on your first attack. Cool. They're great. This is about Opulent Ritual. This is the Humble Knight. I think there might be a couple in this set. No, just the one. Okay, so the Humble Knight, what do they get? Purity of the Soul. When resting, roll for an austerity on the table below. If fulfilled during the past day, roll for vigor. When you gain something, it lasts to the next rest. Oh, so yeah. So you get like a challenge that you need to do, like walk, don't ride, or harm no animal. And if you do it, you can restore some vigor, gain spirit, gain armor, or something like that. The Smoke Seer. I like this artwork. This is cool. A cloaked figure holding a huge thurible emitting smoke from blazing bones. Thurible is a new word for me, but I love it already. Sees everything that's dying right now, and they want to watch a Knight Tenant die. Yeah, there's not enough smoke in the Seers in the book. There's no one like holding a big like, well, a thurible, I guess is the word. I don't know what's going on with the word art here. This is by Zach Hamer. The Spear that cannot cut through water. So it's an adventure. So we've got a spear, a curse, a village, a site. Okay, so it seems sort of more like a this sounds like a bad word to use, but like a more traditional like adventure that you can sort of slot into your game if you want to sort of zoom in and do something a bit more like a traditional exploring a dungeon site kind of one shot. Or, you know, just having a location like this Palace of Fountains is cool to just have to just place down on your map. Yeah, this is nice. It's like a little extra sort of plot line that you can sort of lay out there without being like an actual myth. That's fun. 72 lands. This is another Gnome Stones one. And I love it because I know I'm going to get a drink for this one. It's just 72 lands, so that's cool. Any that jump out at me here? Rainforest, reef. What's a paramo? Anyone in chat that can tell me what a paramo is? We can all learn that word. I say that. I'm assuming everyone in chat knows this word. Yeah, if you want to branch out from the sort of the 12, well, I guess 12 times 12 sort of biomes that are in the book, this is a cool little extra set to use. It's Wasteland, is it? A paramo? There we go. We're out. Wins. So this is selvalaguna.bearblog.dev. So procedures to let the winds guide your Mythic Bastionland runs. So the Wind Knight, the Seer, the Captured Seer, and the Windmill. So it's like determine your birth wind. After picking your name for your Wind Knight, roll on the winds table to determine their birth wind. So like a system for winds and how they affect the realm. I don't have time to go into it too much, but it's definitely intriguing. Oh yeah, so when your birth wind is the prevailing wind, you can perform a free gambit in the fight. And the Captured Seer, yeah, caught under a net, and the Windmill, which is a myth. That's cool. I like the sort of the focus on the wind there. We have another myth. Somehow these have become separated. We have another one from that Japanese-inspired section. So the summer, with heat unending, chirp, screech, flutter, fill the sky, then ruthless cleansing. I guess summer is technically there is no summer in Mythic Bastionland because we use a 3-season system. So it's funny having the idea that summer is a myth. I do like myths that have like something big that happens to the whole realm. So there's a great storm that covers the entire realm here. There's a couple, I think, is it the ogre has something to do with winter coming, and other myths do affect the seasons, and the mist kind of spreads across the whole realm. I do like things that affect the whole realm. It can probably get a bit wacky if you have too many of them going at once, but I think having sort of one of them in there is really fun to do. This is a big one. 44-page Ashvale, the Realm of Death Devoured. Is there a map separately? No. Oh, the maps are included. So this, as a setting, Ashvale has 4 pervasive elements: serpents, undead, fairies, and humanity. Great. Now these are cool. So these look very, I really like that they've kind of stuck to the original color scheme here. The Ash Knight, Blaze of Glory. Once per day you may erupt with flame, damaging you and nearby targets. And you can keep rolling, so you can just keep burning until you potentially die. Nice. Oh, I think I did see something about this. Wait, no, let's not. I think these myths are a little bit more grounded and a bit less kind of supernatural, I think, if I'm thinking of the right one. We're going to spend an extra minute on this one because there's a lot in here. So the Butterfly Knight, Morpho Flock. Once per day you may change into a flock of butterflies. I don't need to read any more. It's great. The Early Winter. Yeah, I think this one, apologies if I've misunderstood, is a bit of an attempt to have a bit more of a grounded set of myths. I say that this is clearly a magical door. I may be getting mixed up, but I like. So I think there's 5 myths in here. Are there 1, 2, 3, 4? No, there's 6. So you could you could just run this realm as it is with the myths already in place. He's actually got all of the landmarks and everything in here too, I think. Oh yeah, there's more. So this is oh wow, we've got a gigantic site for some mountains. Yeah, I could keep going through this one. We're doing it. We're having this is a 3 gong supplement. They get 1 more minute out of me, and then I'm gonna have to move on. This is really cool, and we've got a bunch of encounters for different areas. It's like a full-on like setting book, basically. Balancing guide. Oh, you had me for so long. No, I am not against. I'm not fully against balancing encounters. This one is called Ashvale. So yeah, this one is really good, and I love the artwork too. I love how it has some of the same. It feels like the art in the book, but it's clearly different. This is great. Okay, this is going on my list to look through. If anything, I just weirdly the thing that stood out to me is this giant site, the Snakewall Mountains. Feels like that'd be a really fun thing to like subject your players to. It's almost like a little hex crawl, point crawl, I guess, on its own. Right, that's great, but we are going to move on. The Goose Knight. It's a crying shame there's no Goose Knight in the book, because geese are the most evocative of birds. What do they get? Migratory. So long as you've been there before, you and anyone accompanying you travel twice the distance in the same amount of time, feeling as though you're flying just forever. You can just like fast travel. If that's fast travel, that might be the first like myth, the first ability where I'm like, I feel like there should be some kind of cost or something to it. I like the principle of it, and I like things tying into the traveling, but I wouldn't like to just make travel, twice as fast. I like that you get a solid gold egg. Right, and then we've got the Maelstrom myth, and what's the... No, it's just these 2 pages. The Maelstrom myth, a big storm. The ocean retreats and is drained. A lone human, the sea drinker with sickly green skin, stands and wanders the bottom of the sea. That's cool. Nightly tabletop combat, written by Andrew Stedman. So, this is a miniatures system for Mythic Bastionland. So the aim is to try to reorient Mythic Bastionland's combat into a compact visual format. You'll need miniatures. Yeah, so this is a way to use your miniatures to play out some Mythic Bastionland combat, to deal with distances, build a battlefield. That's cool. And I do have some night miniatures that I've been putting off painting. If you're interested in nightly tabletop combat, Dollar a Stroke by Emmy Allen is really cool and interesting and worth checking out. That's a very cool, like overtly Arthurian themed tabletop miniatures game, which I think is very cool, but this also looks very nice. The Queen Right. I love the border being tied into the myth. That's cool. This is by Josh Jamansky. So it's a beehive, I guess. Yeah, the matriarch, mother to the millions. This is cool, and I really like it's just really nicely laid out. So there's huge beehives in the trees, a bloated body, a village in ruins covered in beehives. So yeah, the bees are revolting, I guess. This is really cool, and this feels like it would just fit. Like you could put that in, and it wouldn't feel like you were using some kind of third-party supplement, for want of a better word. This feels like it would be a very natural fit into the kind of the mythic world. The Mouse Knight and the Feline Seer. That's a horrifying picture. Again, I love how they've managed to capture some of the vibe of the original art. This is by Varzival. So what have they got? Bountiful Stash. You always happen to have the right tool to get out of a tight situation. Roll on the table below to produce a useful item that you previously salvaged. It breaks after 1 use. So you can get something, including a pigeon. And you get like a one-use item. I don't know how often you can do that, but that's cool. The beetle steed, that's nice as well. And what's the feline seer? They're just a big cat. Can smell human emotions and intent. Has 9 lives, but lost 8 of those already. Wants them back. That's a nice seer motivation. In the wild unknown, you defy the dread, where lesser rodents fear to tread. That's cool. That's a nice night. Yeah, I saw this one. This is called... What is this called? A Vast Land. And this is, I think, the intent is to make one that has a bit less over Arthurian influence, I think. So it's drawing from some other sources. So we've got, how many knights do we have? We have 1, 2, 3 knights, and 1, 2, 3 knights and 4 myths. Oh, and some spark tables. This is what we've been missing. I don't see many people doing like full spark. We'll come back to the spark tables. Sand knight, sand vessel. Fill a vessel with sand and a strand of your hair. At the next dawn, after sealing your freshly carved heart within, the vessel shatters and you spring forth, so you can regenerate from this artificial heart. We're keeping going for this one. The Rose Knight, you make food taste good. The Cat Knight, a nice counter to the Mouse Knight, I guess. Oh, you get like a random armor. Okay, that's interesting. The Swarm, so not quite the bees. We might be able to do like an entire insect-themed realm here. But I wanted to look at these because I do like spark tables. So what we got? Writing, idols, jewelry. Population. Tradition, this is cool. So this is like some kind of festival. A bazaar, merchant. These are great. So I can't get enough spark tables. So these pages would be getting printed out for me for sure. Okay, so we've got another set of knights and myths. This one is called The Harvest, I think. That's the name of the file that I have. So the Drowned Knight, Devonian Path. When your body is fully submerged in water for 10 minutes or more, you may emerge from any previously encountered body of water. That's awesome. So you can teleport between water. Can create some problems, I guess, for... Oh, no, I guess they go off on their own. Can create some problems when you're playing as part of a group, but that's a really cool ability. The Reflected Seer lives in a mirror. Makes sense. The Adank. What is this? This is some kind of weird monster. Tamed by innocence. Despises all buildings. That's a great touch. I like that one. We're doing another minute because I really like the art here. I like that they've stuck to the way that the color palette works in the book, where that the seer sort of gives their color to the knight, which blends with the palette of the myth. So the Mosaic Knight, infected strain. So when a season or age turns, your knight withers and dies. A new one grows from the resultant mush. Retain your virtues, clear all scars, and re-roll a new blossom and blight. So you regenerate each season or age, but you get like a special ability. This is cool. I think if you were playing in a one-shot, you might feel a bit hard done by that your ability is just not going to come into use. But I do like things that interact with the seasons and the ages, because I do think of those as like a core part of the game. That's awesome. The Ant, we're continuing the bug theme here. This feels extremely itch.io. So I think it's a myth. Yeah, it's a myth, and each page is an omen. It is now that attentive readers may notice I cannot condense this myth into one page. This is because of my lack of skill. Come on now, listen. You've made a very memorable looking entry here. So each page is its own omen. And you know what? I don't hate it. I do like. I feel like it would be cool to have it as like its own little pamphlet. I'm trying to like just absorb these words, but my eyes are being attacked by some of these colors. That's the ant. Check it out. Omen. Fabled knights clash against myth and prophecy. It's an alternate rule set for Mythic Bastionland that can be used with trophy. Right, cool. I guess it's an alternate system. We've got 10 pages. Yeah, so it's like an alternative rule set. I'd be curious to know what you actually use. Do you still use the myths from the book and the knights? Okay, so you get like an oath die. I'm not going to be able to absorb a system within 1 minute, but it seems like an alternate system for the game, which obviously I am very biased because I spent a lot of time on that system and I kind of designed it for myself. But it's cool to think that someone who perhaps didn't gel with Mythic the first time, maybe this will help them enjoy it. We've got some missing images here. This is by Eodred. We've got, a lot of knights. Wow. Yeah, we've got 12 knights. Right, we're going to pick some at random. The Peregrine Knight sounds cool. Far-reaching sight. Every day at noon, you can use your vision to survey without being on a vantage point. That's pretty cool. The Heart Knight. You can use a gambit to block yourself and your opponent from attacking using the antlers on your spear. When blocked, you can only do a vigor save to shatter the opponent's weapon, and they can only do a vigor save to free themselves. So you kind of have like a grapple, I guess. The Kindle Knight, you can extinguish your flame to do a blast attack. The Rain Knight, you can climb wet surfaces effortlessly. The Wane Knight, you can call your last ridden steed with a strong whistle. We've all been there. Cool. So this is by Eodred, these 12 knights. We have a knight and a myth. Does this one have a name? The Shard Knight is just the Shard Knight and the amulet. What do they get? So the Shard Knight has Break the Scene. Once per day, speak aloud a falsehood as if it were true and pass a clarity save. If you succeed, it becomes real for the next phase. After the phase ends, one random truth nearby becomes false. Now, I try to avoid having specific saves in the abilities because you don't know what that knight's ability is going to be, and it can feel a bit weird if that ability is super high or super low. So you can tell I've been doing this for over an hour now, and I'm getting fussy. But I do like the sort of reality bending thing, and the amulet, the Dominator, the final tide, the Hollow King. Right, we'll never know. The Swarm, more bees. It's bees all the way down. Is this different? We have a lot of bees. I really like the artwork on this one. This is cool. From hollow logs and wicker skeps to an alvery made of flesh. So we've got more killer bees, a group of beekeepers. So is this like a bee cult? So tasting the honey causes weird effects. Yeah, I think it's like a bee cult. You could just have like a myth. You could have a realm where like it's just all of the bee myths. So it's just like 6 different types of like weird bee, and they have to work out. I would not truthfully advise that, but it's funny that so many bees have come up. But yeah, I guess they are missing from the book. These bees should have been in there. I can breathe because this is just a character sheet. And I say just a character sheet. It's a very nice looking character sheet, but this is not going to require me to read and regurgitate material so quickly. So this appears to be very similar to the as I say, the very ugly official character sheet, but they've made it look a bit more pretty. And some people will be very glad to see that, because it's the thing that I think it's testament to the book that people are surprised at how prosaic the character sheet is that I include with the game. I like a character sheet to just be kind of straightforward, because I don't want it to be too distracting. But it is funny that that's the thing that people are like, oh, the book looks really nice, but the character sheet is, I was hoping for something more exciting. So now we have like a million options, because in this game jam, there's loads of different character sheets. And we're probably going to get another one now. There we go. This is another character sheet. I do like the 3-head thing. That's pretty cool. Oh, and this is like your guard. So you mark off the sections. This is cool. I don't know how practical I would find this myself. I do like the overall look of it. That's cool. Are we going to speed run the character sheets? Because I think we've probably got some more in here. Right, don't look. I'm jumping ahead. I'm finding all the character sheets and we're doing them. That was one. Where did it go? Here we go. This one is nice. This one seems pretty thorough. You've got a section for your steed, and yeah, it seems pretty dense. But this one seems pretty thorough, pretty good. What you're going to have to do is you're just going to have to find all the character sheets in there and choose the one that you like the look of the most. There's a lot still to come. I do have another drink, but it's dangerous times. Again, we've got another character sheet that I have very little to say about, other than the fact that it looks very nice. I actually think this one, looking at it, this does have a nice balance of, it looks a little bit more pretty than the one that I made. to put it lightly, it looks significantly more pretty. But it's still very just clear, and it's not over the top. So maybe this is what I would I? Yeah, I like that it has exhausted, exposed, and impaired, because that can be a little bit tricky for players to remember, and it can be tricky for me to remember, quite frankly. Right, any more character sheets? Finally, the last character sheet, and then we're going to get back into the remaining tabs. I can now see a little bit of detail in the tabs, but we've got a lot to go through. I like that this one is like Once Upon a Time. So you're kind of filling in the story, your name of your knight, what they were, who they were knighted by, what happened to them. This is fun. I think I would not use this with brand new players, because it's a little bit, it could be a little bit unintuitive for me. But I think for players who know the system well, this is like a fun little twist on it. Right. We've got a bunch of these left. I need to recharge my voice. No one asks, what's that gong noise? It means that the minute timer is up and I've got to do one of these per minute. The Nyx. Where the swift, wet violin play, cheerful hoofs in algae lay. So the Nyx can change between like a man, a horse, and the guardian of the lake. This is cool. This feels like a very natural fit. And yeah, the young people gather to dance and go into the lake. There's a lot of people being dragged into things and pulled into things and lured into things. Mist, lakes, wells, holes. It's a pretty key sort of part of this whole vibe, I guess. But no, that's a cool one. This is When Zagan Falls. And this is an 8-page. I've jumped ahead so we can ignore that gong. Written, designed, and illustrated by Cole Botman. I do hate people who can write and illustrate it. It seems a bit unfair. So this is a very cool looking setting. Let me just check. Is there a map at the back? Yes, there is. I did check this one. So we have, yeah, player facing maps, I guess, and well, different levels of detail for how much detail you want to give the players. And then it's just sort of details of this realm. This is really cool. It's very dense. There's a lot in here. We've got sites. We've got other locations. So this is, I guess, like a more... No, it's landmarks. I was going to say it's a more traditional hex rule, but it does seem to be based on the standard system in the book. This, you're going to ask me to read this on a printed copy. I may struggle. Mythic Bastionland Optional Leveling Rules by Devin A. Poe. Oh, it's a spicy take. This rule is for players who want more long-term games with power progression, or for players who are used to growth. We'll see. Each timer, it's causing me pain to read this. I'm joking. This is perhaps not to my taste, but I like that it exists. Each time a character gains 3 glory, they can level up, so you can get points into your vigor, clarity, spirit, or guard. So yeah, it's a way to raise your virtues. I obviously would not personally recommend doing that for what I was trying to get out of the system and for the way that I think the system works best. But some groups may enjoy seeing those numbers go up. So this is a way to do that. Solo for Mythic Bastionland. So we've got a 3-page solo system. So it's kind of a procedure for running the game solo. You get a starting point. You get an oracle. Some guidance. This is cool. And the thing that I like about solo games is I don't really play solo games myself, but a lot of the details, a lot of the guidance in there is to do with things like improvisation. So it can have some useful guidance, even if you're not running solo games very much yourself. Yeah, and I like it. Anyone who likes the Ask the Stars stuff that I did on the blog some years ago, they're obviously a person of exquisite taste. So yeah, solo Mythic Bastionland. I've got my 1 minute time. There's no visual cue for this, but I'm starting to get my internal 1 minute timer pretty close to the gong now, which is quite fun. The bridge. Waters rise to rapids, all more trouble and toiling. A pound of flesh for passage o'er the river roiling. So, could you combine this with the river? Would that be a bit too wild? Because I think there is like a bridge on the river in the River Myth. I probably wouldn't include them both. We have a toll knight. And yeah, they're just causing problems, the toll knights. So there's going to be a classic fight on a bridge scenario. Oh, but the toll is not just money. It could be answering riddles, sacrifice a limb. That is fun, actually. I do like that. And I reckon that's about a minute. I'm getting close. The Beetle Knight. Sorry, I shouldn't be so impressed that I've been able to internalize this timer. But it's probably one of the greatest achievements of my life. Okay, the Beetle Knight, what can they do? Megaton strength. Gather immense strength, capable even lifting multiple times an average human weight. Let me start again. When in combat, this grants plus D10 and ignore armor on one attack. At the end of the combat, you'll be exhausted and take D6 vigor. That's pretty wild. I'd be interested to see that in play. The Maddening. So the Angel of Maddening is, I guess, or the Angel of Chaos on here is the sort of the big bad at the end. Okay, cool. And the Shattered Seer, we've got another Mirror Seer. This one in a broken mirror. So I reckon that's about a minute. So I've jumped too early. I've gotten too confident. The Knitting Knight. What's their deal? I like this layout a lot. This is really nice. Ever increasing protection. Craft a protective garment that can be worn in addition to armor. So they can just like keep adding armor indefinitely. Special knitted styles. So you can just keep racking up the armor, I guess. That's an interesting one. And the spindle, a web of invisible threads holds the fate of the world together. This layout and art is fantastic. I really love this, the way this one looks. So this one, you've got like threads connecting people. They become tangled. Yeah, this one's cool. And I like that they connect to each other. So that's another nice set. The Grey Knight. And I took my corpse upon the treasure ship, roaring the seas amid of furies. Divorced from my own Rome, I sought the extinction of my home. I'm sorry, I completely butchered the meter on this one. So, what's the Grey Knight got? Scales of Justice allows you to summon the ideological antithesis of a target once per phase. If you defeat an opponent with this, their body explodes into shrapnel. What does that mean? So you can summon the ideological antithesis of a target. So like their opposite, like ideological opposite. I like the sound of it. This is another one that like we've got to sit down at the start of this, at the start of the game and be like, what does this mean? What happens when we do this? They get some shifting grey illusions. And the fingernail seer. This is a weird one, but I like it. The sprawl, a city, but not the city, I guess. Brick by brick and hex by hex, urbanity made manifest. Controversial, including a city that is not the city. But I mean, I do like this because this does fit, even though there's a whole thing about there being the city, not other cities. I feel like you could make this fit for sure. And I like that it comes with a site. I really have enjoyed been messing around with this site system lately, and it's a cool way to flesh out locations a little bit more than you typically do in the game. So the sprawl mother. Okay, so it's not just as simple as there is a city. Yeah, this is cool. I like it. Check this one out. We have a draft. Maybe this is the secret 100th one because it's not gone out of the draft form. The Cursed Knight. Specific virtues at the top. Now, I think I did mess with this idea of having each knight have set virtues rather than rolling them, but I ended up having people roll because it's fun. They have a soul thirst. Sustained by murdering another living creature. You do not need food or water for survival. Each soul satisfies your hunger for 1 day. So you need to kill someone every day. What was this one? The Cursed Knight. And you have the Rage of the Accursed. Right. So yeah, they have a big hammer, and their rage trigger is if they are referred to as the Hammer Knight. They go into a rage. That's pretty funny. And the Lost Seer. Pale-skinned and blinded by their time in the dark. That's all we've got. I like it. What was the myth? The Architect. Okay, it sounds cool. This is a 27-page supplement by Riley Clark, and there's a big foreword of why do you want this? I think the gist is, why would you want more myths? Because more myths are fun. So we have 24 myths. This is like 24 myths is like kind of what the game had for quite a while it was in an early form. So I saw one that I liked the look of. Where was it? I mean, the crab. I am a crab fan. The crab, Bacalacal, Lord of the Sea. Loves the idea of dominion and luxury, but makes a really poor ruler. Yeah, I like it when animals become rulers. That's fun. The Hourglass. This is cool. It's just a bunch of myths. Grab it. Beasts, villains, and vagabonds. Rules for recurring adversaries in Mythic Bastionland. Okay, so I guess these are like recurring characters that are not tied to a myth, but are instead, yeah, they have a renown system for how much trouble they're causing. They get a lair and a plot. They can try and steal the throne. How you create them. They have a special feat for getting away out of combat, which is pretty funny. What's your adversary's form? Quirks. Bunch of tables. Yeah, this makes sense. This is by Juniper C. And yeah, this is cool. Beasts, villains, and vagabonds. I jumped the gong here. There we go. So this is by Luke Saunders. So this is Merc Dice. So Circle Knight. I like the artwork here a lot. They have a glaive. What's their thing? Draw the arena. Draw a dueling circle. If someone else steps inside the circle whilst you are within it, one of you must kill the other to leave. No one outside the circle may intervene in your duel. That's pretty impactful. The Orbital Seer, a faceless humanoid composed of thousands of concentric rings of different materials. Nice, I like it. And then we have the Ash, which is a big volcano, I suppose. Burning disciples, ashen disciples. Yeah, it's a big volcano that spews out things, I suppose, and disciples. Nice, this one's cool. Now this one is, I mean, I'm going to let this one speak for itself. So I'm sorry I can't credit whoever this is. This is the Occult Knight and the Masks. The artwork here is ridiculously good. And I like that it still has the limited palette, but it's gone for a different limited palette than the book. So it still fits, but it feels like it's a different, like an alternate version of this world, I guess. It's really cool. We have an outright alien seer. What does the Occult Knight do? So etch a sign into an object. When a mystical enemy has sight of it, you can force the enemy to be impaired or force a spirit save to avoid rout. The sign burns out after use. Yeah, so you can make a sign that scares spooky things. And the masks are a myth. Oh, various different masks. This seems really cool. You know you're going to grab this one. The Magician. This is it is a knight. It took me a minute to parse what was going on. So you begin your day with 2d4 possibility generated through your dreams. You cannot use feats. Instead, you can remove any number of unused dice to gain that much possibility. So possibility is like a resource that you can use. Multiple spells can be used in conjunction. Yeah, so you can spend this possibility resource to cast spells, but it seems very open spell system. And you're followed by an animal, and you enjoy a bit of something here. This is cool. This seems like a nice twist to try out. So we have the Card Knight and the Orphanage, and then we have a site here for the beating heart of the orphanage. So that's cool. So when the myth finishes, I guess, or at least if you get into the myth hex and you get to the orphanage itself, you then have like a little dungeon to go through. That's really cool. So what does the Card Knight have? Glimpse Fate. Once per session during the morning phase, you may glimpse an uncertain fate using your deck of cards. See below. So I guess you draw a card at random. So let's say you got 4 and 1. You draw a Frozen Moon, which means lose an important item. That's cool. This is one case where I would almost lean into it and just say, like, just use a tarot deck and you draw a tarot card at the start of the day, and then that will have to become reality. But yeah, this D6 table is cool too. This is Mythic Courier. Yeah, I saw this one and I thought this sounded cool. So So at the moment we've just got two. We've got a knight and a myth, and a shaman, I guess, instead of a seer. So this is taking inspiration from Korean mythology, I guess. Not an area I've got a lot of familiarity with. The Sticky Rice Cake Warrior has an ability which is Adhesive Flare. Once per combat, when using your long mallet, the stop, impair, and trap gambits count as strong gambits. That's cool. I think I've had many discussions about the impair gambit and whether it's a little bit too strong. But being able to use stop and trap as strong gambits is like a nice, clean, cool ability. And we're not going to get a chance to read the myth. D5 Knights. So we've got a forward. Yeah, they're saying about using the border. It's fine. So we've got myths and knights as usual. Let's check. So the Blind Knight. No effort can reduce your awareness and you cannot be caught by surprise. Nice and simple. The Antler Knight. When fighting in defense of the defenseless, you may bring all your might to bear and all your attack dice increase by 1. Okay. The Fasting Knight. As long as you haven't eaten in the last day, you can wield hefty weapons as though they were not hefty and long weapons as though they were hefty. That's kind of cool. So you can like have... so you could have like a halberd and a shield, or you could have like 2 long swords, I suppose. Yeah, these seem like cool knights and cool myths. The Hound Knight. Are we seeing? I know this is like there's only so much public domain art, but I think we've seen this on another one, which is funny. What do they have? They have a charioteer. Yeah, so this is another charioteer knight that's using the same artwork. I don't know whether we're just duplicating here. Apologies if so. So your special ability: hurl your spear using your foot. Upon contact with flesh, it splits into 30 barbs, killing the target. Spear must then be cut out, which takes a phase. So you can just kill something with your spear. But then you have to spend a whole phase cutting it out. It's bold, and I'm trying to work out whether that's something I would have done. I think that's probably a little bit too absolute for me, but I do like how it feels. The Gutter Knight. Even amidst sin and squalor, honor and valor. So, when fighting someone who is powerless, plus D10 to your attacks. That's a nice twist, because kind of encourages like unknightly behavior, I guess. You can't resist drinking with servants or lying to laborers. And then for a seer, we have the Morning Seer. Benevolent and all-seeing, but constantly weeping, only providing guidance to those who recently lost a loved one, and secretly wants someone to mourn her someday. Cool. We've got a cool knight here. This one is definitely different. This is Pothok Boots, I think. Is this the author? So this is Men at Work Down Under. And it's got a line from the song. So it's the song Down Under by Men at Work as a myth. And I'm trying to process this now. Thunder and lightning abound throughout the land. Women are glowing and men are plundering. Devastation comes to those who don't find cover. Look, I don't know if I can add anything to this, but this is a very nice change of pace for sure for my read through. I'd love to know if anyone actually uses it. Okay. We have Further Strangeness, 12 New Knights, Seers and Myths for Mythic Bastionland by Gord Seller. Has my timer stopped? No, we're good. We're good. So again, more knights and more myths. We have the Grief Knight, the Great Burning, the Guilt Knight and the Wandering Pit, the Amorous Knight, and the Lanthorn Spectres. So, what do? What does the Sun Knight do? Solar Might. Once per day while the sun shines, roll an extra d12 for one attack. The knight can choose to save the roll or use the die in the attack. If the attack is used when the sun sets, vigor is reduced by the same amount. Okay, so you can like spend vigor to do like an extra big attack. And you have a lark who follows you around. Dream Knight. They can sing during battle to remove one die. The Treason of Serpents. This is a cool sounding myth. Yeah, these sound cool. So these are Further Strangeness. 3 Knights and Myths by Phoebe at the Lonely Furbolg. So again, just lots of Knights and Myths. I wonder if there's 72 if you combine everything in the game jam. I should have counted as I went. So the Loathe Knight has Blade Breaker. If you're wounded by a bladed weapon, you may choose instead to take a mortal wound so that the weapon shatters. That's fun. I like that a lot. It's kind of niche, but you can see a situation where that, like, you make a sacrifice to like protect the rest of your group. And then we've got the Dance Knight. So after dancing, you begin to glow. Creatures that see you are blinded except for seeing you and anyone you are dancing with until you stop. So you start dancing and then people can only see you. They can't look at anyone else. The Blood Drunk Knight. So they have the Echoes of Blood. While wearing no armor, you gain plus d6 to your attacks, and you have access to a special gambit. Rally yourself, restoring 1 guard per die to a maximum of half the damage you deal this attack. So you can spend a gambit to get back some of your guard. You know, I thought I was going to hate that, but I don't mind it too much. I wouldn't bother with the half damage if it were me, because I think spending... I don't know. I thought I wouldn't like this, but I like the idea. I'd be interested to see how that one plays out. And then we've got the Unblinking Seer. They want their eyes placed all across the realm. Don't all seers want that, really? Maps for Mythic Bastionland. So yeah, I saw this. That this one comes with separate files for all of the maps, but it's basically like pre-made hex maps and suggested myths to go in there. So I don't think it contains any... I don't think the holdings and stuff are like fleshed out. You still have to do that. But if you just want a map as a starting point, and you know, they've got some interesting shapes to them, you can use them. And this is just a really cool resource to have. And I like that they've sort of curated a set of myths here, and they sort of fit a theme, and they explain that a little bit. Yeah, this is really cool. I really like this one. This is called, I think it's just called 12 Mythic Bastionland Maps. And yeah, veteran myths, the Hydra. I heard someone in the Discord talking about the Hydra causing problems with their players, so I can kind of see that. This is by Horseverse. This is the Mythic Bastionland site compendium. I think there's quite a lot in here. No, I'm thinking of a different one. This one does have quite a lot, but I think we can do it in a minute. It's just some sites. We've got the Wolf Spider Mound, we've got the Bog, the Isle, and the Needle. And these are just cool little sites. I like that this one kind of doesn't follow the typical pattern. It's a little bit bigger. Yeah, it's always useful to have these sites to kind of like to sort of drop in when you need them. Even if they aren't necessarily tied to like a landmark, I think it can just be fun to, or rather it can be useful to be able to zoom in when you need to. Yeah, I'm trying not to, there's lots of comments in the chat, but I appreciate I probably don't have time to answer them, but I am seeing these. The Scholar Knight. We've already had this creator So we've got another one by them. In fact, I think, do we have multiple by this creator? No, these are all different. The Scholar Knight. Lesson learned. As a reaction to reading or hearing someone reading from a scroll, if your clarity is 13 plus, you can remember the words for D4 days and you can transcribe them onto a scroll of your own. I would definitely drop this if your clarity is 13 plus, because if you roll this night and you get clarity 11, which is like technically above average, it feels a bit rubbish to not be able to like use your ability. You could tie it in with your clarity somehow if you really wanted to, but I personally do like to keep the ability kind of virtue neutral in most cases. I'm sure there are a few in the book that touch on it. Anyway, that's my rant. The Root Knight. You have a garden hoe and some root vegetables. So, Earthshaper. Use your hands or simple tools to move solid stone as if it was soft soil. Moving more than a few handfuls is exhausting and costs D6 vigor. Yeah, so you can like move stone out the way. It's another twist on the Mole Knight, which we've already had. Your root vegetable can have a special ability to it. And then the Whisper Seer. So it's a web of spider silks. This is cool. I wish I thought of this one. So a tangled web of spider silks suspend isolated human organs, an ear, a mouth, and in the center a still beating heart. That's really cool. That would have been a cool one to have put in the book. I'm actually very jealous of this one. That's great. The Loom Knight. So continuing with the spider theme. Beware the spinner of doom's thread, who knots thy fate where battle is led. So they have a woven cord belt with 3 fate knots. On a hit, spend 1 fate knot to entangle the enemy. It works as a stun. Okay, and then you have ability Fate Knot. At dawn, tie 1 fate knot to any companion or yourself. While the knot is worn, the bearer may break it to immediately reduce incoming damage by default. So that the knot has kind of 2 uses. And it's kind of like extra armor you can put on people, I guess. And they're knighted by the fated spinster, weaver of eternity. Sees destinies as threads to be mended or unraveled. Stitch glimpses of tomorrow into every tapestry she crafts. So yeah, continuing, there's a bit of like a tapestry theme going through the setting already, so that's like a cool one that kind of fits. Wretched Glorious Champions. This is by Elliot Freeman. This is 16 pages. I love the artwork. I forget the name of this artist, but I used quite a bit of this art, or at least very similar art, on the mood board that I shared with Alec for the illustration guide. So you are champions. So I guess it's like an alternative to being a knight. You have these champions instead. So you have the Sunrise Champion, the Pinnacle Champion, the Gloaming Champion. These are really cool. I love the artwork. Okay, the Sunrise Champion. And all must tremble. When you draw steel, ask the GM what would put fear in the heart of someone you face. If you can achieve it, they will recoil in terror. That's cool. The Pinnacle Champion. Your touch destroys corpses, purifies rot, and cleanses water. So these are cool. So they are quite they feel different to knights while still having. We're doing another minute on this one because I really like it. Yeah, and the seers are not seers. They are. What's the name of them? I can't find them, but whatever the seer equivalents are, you just got like the jailer, the mendicant, the mountebank, the clerk, the mother. So they're just like the character that anointed you. They're not necessarily a seer. The Peregrine Champion. Don your beast skin cloak to become a creature of that kind. If you would suffer a mortal wound, you may have it shed your cloak beyond repair instead. When you slay a beast of power or renown, you may take its hide for another of your beast skin cloaks. And you have some to begin with already. That's really cool. I like this one a lot. So this is called Wretched Glorious Champions by Elliot Freeman, and this one is definitely worth a look. And I like the little FAQ at the end. Right, 5 left. I can see the end of the tunnel. Vassals. Want to flesh out your vassals? Roll a d6 and a d12. So yeah, kind of similar to the one that I did for squires. I like that it's a good way to make a holding feel weird. So only identical twins are allowed in court. There's a temple to a different god on each street corner. The holding is mostly underground. They are a strict and absolute pacifist. So yeah, these are cool things to just roll for a ruler of a realm. And ruler of a holding or a realm, and to give them a bit more flavor. Okay, next. The Storm. We had the Maelstrom earlier. We haven't had the Storm yet, I don't think. So this is a myth. Shower of Frogs is good. Feels very mythic. The Stormlord blots out the entire sky, and it demands a sacrifice. Yeah, that's cool. This one makes a lot of sense. We have 3 left. I'm going to do what I can and slightly ignore the gong and get through them. Weird whims. Random encounters for colouring the world, red herrings, and plugging lulls in the story. So just weird little things that you can put in if you don't have like an actual myth omen. Now, there's a debate about whether you should have red herrings in there. I think you can make it work in this kind of setting. But maybe, I don't know, maybe use it carefully, I would say. But yeah, that's cool. The Myth Compendium. 12 myths. This is by Mike Balve. I do like the artwork. So we've got the Gnarl. So it's this weird monster. The Anger. The Griffin. So there was I didn't have a griffin in the book because there is, I can't remember what it's called, in the tower, I think. Is it the tower or the citadel? There's one of them that has like essentially a griffin. It's called like a flying, I can't think what it's called. It has a different name, but there's like a griffin in there. But it's cool to have a griffin that has their own myth. The Thunder, the Crater. Right, the final one, the Bloody Well. It's a nice little six location site. Looks pretty straightforward. This is by Taliesin Crosby. And yeah, it's a cool little site that fits on a single page. I'm trying to work out whether it's like a useful site or not. I guess the seller has a Ring of Mourning, which is kind of like a magical item. So yeah, you could just put this in as kind of like a little site to explore, find something useful, overcome some dangers. And I think with that, we will call this one done. So that is, we're going to put the gong to rest finally. That is the Mythic Bastionland Jam. All 100 asterisk entries. Ones that stood out for me, and again, I didn't want to do reviews, but the Jotun Rift kind of starter realm, that was really cool. There's lots that's really cool, but I'm just going to pick out the ones that really stood out to me. The Jotun Rift is really cool. I really liked the Occult Knight and the Mask Knight. The Old Realm Scrolls has a lot of just extra like random tables to flesh out things. The 12 maps was actually really, really useful. I could see myself using that. Beasts, Villains, and Vagabonds, that had some cool stuff in it. A lot of the online tools that we looked at, like this one and the tool, were really good. Wretched Glorious Champions seemed really interesting. You know, an alternative to having knights, you have these champions instead. Yeah, the vast land. So this is the one that kind of is trying to be a bit less Arthurian. And Ravenfell was this. No, that was one of the realms that I did like, but there was another one that I really enjoyed. Well, Ashvale, that was it. So that one looked really interesting. That was like a very fleshed out realm as well. And yeah, I'm not gonna try and pour over them all again, but I think those were the ones that really leapt out to me. And of course, lots of character sheets because everyone hates my character sheet. So that is we did it in under 2 hours. People thought this was going to be impossible, but under 2 hours. Thank you to everybody who submitted anything to this jam. It's really cool to see what people are doing with the game. I'm I'm hoping maybe at some point in the future someone will host another game jam. If you have made something and you've missed the game jam, then do share it with me and I'll try and sort of share it round as best I can. But yeah, go and check it out. It's on itch.io. There's voting happening now for like the winner. I don't think I'll be voting, but I'll be interested to see which ones come out on top. Everything that's in there is free. So everything that you've seen tonight, you can get on there and get for free. Check it out. I do not have any more streams planned in the immediate term, but if something comes up, I will do it. So it will be goodbye for now. And I will see you next time, whenever that may be.